I'm Matt, CEO of Compound Solutions. And yeah, big news, Dynamine is GRAS, which means that it's regulatory compliant. And, we've had, just 20 years of roughly the taurine and caffeine sort of, let's call it, hegemon in energy drinks for so long. I think we just want something new. And I know Bang has revolutionized the market with his marketing, but I mean, the formula isn't that different. I mean, adding some aminos to it. So we really feel like Dynamine is posed to just rewrite the narrative on energy from just energy to energy plus mood, motivation, and focus.
Welcome to Price Plow.
Welcome to the Price Plow Podcast. We are super honored to have Matt Titlow of Compound Solutions in with us today. I'm Mike Roberto, and to the right is Ben Kane, and in the middle is Matt. And so, Matt, if you follow the YouTube channel of Price Plow, you know that we are very big fans of Compound Solutions and a lot of the ingredients they sell. And today, Matt's got a very big announcement they're making about Dynamine. So welcome to the channel, Matt, and we'd love to have you kind of introduce yourself, talk about a little bit about Compound Solutions, where you are, what you're doing, and then let's get into the big news on Dynamine.
Right on. So yeah, I'm Matt, CEO of Compound Solutions, and yeah, big news, Dynamine is GRAS, so generally recognized as safe, which means that it's regulatory compliant. And we've had, just 20 years of roughly the taurine and caffeine sort of, let's call it, hegemon in energy drinks for so long. I think we just want something new. And I know Bang has revolutionized the market with his marketing, but I mean, the formula isn't that different. I mean, adding some aminos to it. So really, it's a marketing difference relative to an actual like stimulant difference or energy difference in the energy drink market. So we really feel like Dynamine is posed to just rewrite the narrative on energy from just energy to energy plus mood, motivation, and focus.
So let's back it up just a second and talk about what is Dynamine then. It's obviously an energy something. So for those who don't know anything, and most of our channel do know, but a lot of people who are maybe checking this ingredient out for the first time, because in the future it sounds like it is going to be in energy drinks, and you're going to be able to get it into more places given this new GRAS status. So can you back it up and explain what is Dynamine?
Right. So technically speaking, when we talk about theacrine or even or Dynamine either, purine alkaloids, basically they look very structurally similar to caffeine, but they act very different. So if you're thinking about caffeine, you're thinking of a high increase in energy, and then in the short term, you end up crashing. Maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours of energy, something along those lines. Mm-hmm. Whereas something like a Dynamine, you're gonna because of its different, let's call it, modulation of adenosine. So yes, it does inhibit adenosine, and it does, create kind of that energy associated with caffeine. It's just to a lesser extent. It's not so intense as, let's say, a caffeine. So it lasts, 3, 4 hours as opposed to that hour and a half, 2 hours. So you end up with a longer duration of action and a nice complementary action with caffeine. So like, for example, if caffeine's going to have an onset of, let's say, 15, 20 minutes, Dynamine's going to be right there afterward at 20, 25 minutes. So it's going to be a nice 1-2 punch. So what is it? Really a adenosine inhibitor, kind of like caffeine, but a little bit softer,
and
I would call it.
Adenosine is what makes you, when you have the buildup of adenosine, you start getting tired, basically.
You get tired. That's exactly. So when you block that, then you don't get tired. It's your anti-fatigue, mechanism. So as, night falls, this is something that is, circadian rhythms start occurring, or just general fatigue. Adenosine starts building up, and you block that receptor. If you're talking with Dr. Lopez, you'd be talking about, allosteric modulation and all the other stuff. But honestly, that's like PhD stuff, and I'm just Matt. But anyway, the point is caffeine will, block that receptor, that adenosine receptor, whereas Dynamine will kind of come in from the side and, modulate that adenosine receptor to just a slightly different way, like almost like you unlocked it, like the key, just from a different different angle. So that's part of it. And then the fact is that we believe, like theacrine, it's also a dopamine agonist. So, kind of activating dopamine receptors for that increase in like mood, motivation, and focus. And that, I think, is the crucial part of not just pre-workouts, but energy drinks and anything that's involving energy, period, is we feel like when we launched theacrine, let's say 3.5 years ago or whenever that was, the difference was kind of the mind's role in physical performance, right? It was cool. Like we had tyrosine for a really, really long time, tyrosine and phenylalanine. That was like NO Explode 13 years ago. And that revolutionized the market. It was super cool. But the dopamine agonism, that mood motivation, is really killer from not just Dynamine, but also theacrine. And we feel like that kind of helped remake the functionalization of energy that we're trying to redo again here.
Awesome. So this is going to lead to some of the GRAS stuff we're going to talk about with the FDA and the government and everything. But Dynamine has been out for a while as an ingredient, as has theacrine. So can you, and so like for certain supplements, I actually have Lipo6 Dynamix, or Dynamics. I call it Dynamix because it's got Dynamine in it, and it's a great feeling energy surge. I kind of like. I've noticed that I love the high dose Dynamine supplements, and this one seems to have a pretty decent hit of it, especially if you do 2 scoops. I'm gonna probably have some right here, but anyway, so it's already been out for a while. What changes now? Like, are you allowed to just put out a new ingredient on the market, or how do things change here?
Yeah, technically speaking, you need for new ingredients that are not marketed prior to 1994, that aren't already in the food supply, is you need either a new dietary ingredient or generally recognized as safe. Mm-hmm. So status. And so technically, going all the way to to an ideological end is, you need this to be fully regulatorily compliant. Now, as we were launching, we were doing all this safety data. Right. So it generally recognizes safe status. Safety is the key word. But what does safe mean? It means you're doing mutagenicity, toxicity, and a range of other studies to make sure that, genes don't mutate, or, there is no sort of, toxicity in either humans or animals. So this is what we've been doing for the last, year and a half, I would say, somewhere in that range. So now we're at that, official stage, whereas before it was great safety data. Thank God it came back great, because keep in mind, I think everyone who's a viewer should know this, is that it's not okay just to be safe. You actually have to be safe at 100 times the dose.
Really?
That's the safety factor for GRAS. This is absolutely key. We cannot overstate how important this is. So if you're taking like coffee, for example, and you were to take 100 times that dose, you die. Mm-hmm. Right? We all know this. So the reason why caffeine is legal at this time is because it's grandfathered. So prior to 1994, caffeine existed, caffeine anhydrous, etc. But Dynamine didn't. And so we had to go through all these toxicity studies that are safe at 100 times safety factor. That is what the FDA requires. So Dynamine has the best sensory experience with the best safety profile of any compound I've ever come across.
Excellent. Is there a basis in nature too, or I'm assuming? I believe it's found in a few things or similar molecules. I know theacrine's real similar, so.
Yeah, both are contained in the kucha tea, which is primarily found in China, but other parts of the world, in the cupuaçu fruit out of Brazil, and other natural, let's call it, natural foods and beverages. Now, people would say, well, why don't you just take it from the biomass? Like, why don't you just take Dynamine, extract it from the kucha tea, and rock and roll? You absolutely can do that. But the issue is that the biomass is low, fairly low. There's, fairly low levels of theacrine and Dynamine in kucha tea, so it's really expensive. The second thing is that when you're getting GRAS status, you have to identify all of it. Like for example, let's say when you extract it from kucha tea, let's say it's 30% active, let's just say. Well, one of the things you have to prove to the GRAS agency, the consultants, the PhDs, are the other 70%. So you could sit here, you know how complex plants are. We could be sitting here for years trying to identify every little constituent of the 70%, and then identifying, like, oh yeah, that one's safe, that one's safe. 4 decades later, we're like, hey, look, fantastic, Dynamine natural, let's just do this. So we created a bioidentical copy and made it pure so that we knew 100% is Dynamine, and that could be safe, generally recognized as safe.
Wow. Ben, did you have a question?
No, that was I had no clue about that part. That was interesting.
Yeah, for sure. So you had a bunch of safety studies. Is there a minimum that's required by the FDA, or the process seems to be like, I guess walk us through a little bit on the process. There's GRAS self-affirmation, but you mentioned you have to get a whole bunch of experts or PhDs. So how did that work out for you and Dynamine?
Right, exactly. So yeah, I think a lot of viewers would be interested to know, kind of, how does the ingredient actually get into the bottle legally? Regulatorily compliant is what I really mean. Mm-hmm. And so is what you have to do is, basically prove that it's safe. And I feel like I need to grab my computer and look at all those 5 studies we did. But one of the things you do is you actually first, you do it in animals for obvious reasons. Mm-hmm. And what you do is you start doing some sort of dose response. So you'll do a 5-day dose response. Like, for example, 5 days of 3 levels of Dynamine, for example, and you look at how those rats respond. I don't want to get too graphic, but I mean, do they shake? Do they have any sort of adverse event? Right? Do those rats have an adverse event? Mm-hmm. Let's say they do it the high dose. Well, then your next dose is then your high dose on the 14-day dose response, right? And then you do 3 more. After that, you've basically identified kind of what your high dose, your medium dose, and your low dose is. So what you do is you do then a 90-day. And that 90-day is the seminal study. That is the one that is extremely important and required by the FDA for GRAS. Now, after that, you're not just looking at how do they physically react. You're actually examining them post, and did you get enlargement of the heart, of the spleen, of the testes? Do you have any sort of reproductive toxicity? Do you have any sort of mutagenic sort of toxicity? Do you have any is it a carcinogen? All these sorts of things is what you're looking for in various of these tests, as well as the actual in the rat itself. Like I said, enlargement of the organs or something like this. So it takes a long time. So you're doing this in parallel oftentimes. Running making sure it's not a carcinogen over here, and over here you're actually making sure that the rat is okay. Let's say you identify that dose. You've done your 5-day, you've done your 14-day, you've now done your 90-day. You're now examining all the data. You then go to your human, and you want to, because you have a dose there. And let's say for Dynamine, for example, it's 105 milligrams. That's what was identified as your daily safe dose.
Awesome. I got to interrupt, because 100 milligrams of straight Dynamine, yes, is my favorite dose. So that's good to hear.
Matt, is that as compared to the weight for the mice? Were you giving the mice 105 milligrams, or was it per kilogram?
It's the human equivalent dose.
Cool.
So yeah, the HED is obviously lower.
Right.
So the 105 milligrams is what was safe at a 100 times safety factor. Okay, so you can take 100 times that and you'd be okay. don't recommend that. I'm
No,
just saying,
yeah.
like, adverse events and things of this sort. So no one go do that. It's like water. 8 ounces is good, but 100 times 8 ounces, maybe you want to just kind of simmer down with that, right? So anything can be toxic in too high of a dose. All right. So back at Dynamine. So you have like 105 milligrams, and then what you do is you start testing it in humans for safety and efficacy, both. So you're thinking of like cardiovascular parameters like blood pressure, heart rate, things of this sort. You're also looking at like single dose visual analog scale scores, VAS scores, like perceived feelings of like energy, mood, motivation, focus, motivation to accomplish a task, reaction time, for gamers and things of this sort. So you're looking at single dose responses as well as actual safety over a long period of time. And then after that, then people will say, oh, well, that was cool. Well, what about like reps to fatigue? What about the military and accuracy with firearms? How about, and that's when you start spending even more money trying to identify all the other things that would be kind of cool from a weightlifting standpoint or a gaming standpoint or, functional athletics standpoint. This is the march of time that takes, I would say, 1.5 years plus sometimes. Maybe
Awesome.
2 years.
Okay, so thanks for breaking that down. So now what's next? As in, you mentioned Bang energy drinks. So are you coming out with an energy drink now, or explain how the company works? Like explain like what the situation is, because I don't think we totally introduced Compound Solutions itself.
Okay, so Compound Solutions, we've been around 20 years. We've been mostly involved in amino acids, so we're supplying not just what you consider like sports nutrition for amino acids, but also think of like infant formula and things of that sort, so like medical foods. And then about 15 years ago, I started, and maybe 14 years ago, we started really getting heavy into sports nutrition. That's when we took over carnosine beta-alanine. And I don't know if your viewers know, but that became the most successful patented ingredient in sports history. It was just gigantic. If the viewers know, it went from about 1,000 kilos a year when we picked it up to we built it to more than 1 million kilos a year. It was remarkable. The growth was.
That's a lot of beta-alanine y'all are drinking right there. That's awesome.
We're tingling, baby. We were tingling. We are like the OGs of tingle. So anyway, we were partnered with NAI on that. NAI took that back over maybe 5 years ago or so, something like that. And that's when we started picking up theacrine. That was maybe my dates are off just a little bit, but roughly speaking, about 5 years ago, maybe it was theacrine, and then started getting like Go BHB and Carb 10 and Pico 2, and a lot of these ingredients were really kind of trying to remake certain aspects. Like for example, Pico 2 was, kind of remaking the adaptogenic side, kind of like it's like beta-alanine and creatine combined, both power and endurance. So just looking at what adaptogens could do there. BHB was, yes, it's involved in weight management, but really it's an energy source, really, when you break it down. Theacrine and Dynamine, we're trying to remake the whole thought behind the mind's role in physical performance. In other words, if you think you can't deadlift whatever weight it is, you can, right? Like you're right. Like if you think you can, you're right. If you think you can't, you're also right. And this is what dopamine can help with, and that's why theacrine and Dynamine are powerful in pre-workouts, and hopefully in kind of rewriting what's going on in energy drinks as well. So that was a little bit of background of us kind of getting into sports and kind of the evolution into theacrine and Dynamine. And now our whole goal really is to maximize human potential. And when we say that, we mean it. So that means like cognitive and physical performance. So we're super, super involved in, how do you get the mind optimized? And that doesn't always mean the brain. It could mean the gut, for example, because that's obvious. Like if you have a brain disorder, go to the brain. But now we realize that might originate in the gut.
The second brain.
We're talking about Right. We're talking about physical performance. And that seems obvious. So it's physical, right? So you're thinking like amino acids, protein, very, very obvious. But what's less obvious is dopamine, for example, the mind's role in physical performance. So we might try to optimize human potential in different ways, but we're still going for it. We might come at different angles, but we're still really trying to maximize human performance.
Gotcha. So Compound Solutions, you're not always inventing the ingredients yourself though, or your team? Like, are you sometimes licensing ingredients from other scientists and you're working with them together? Or like for the case of Dynamine, how did that work out?
Oh, 100%. Yes. So Dynamine and theacrine are the masterminds of others, not of us. It was their invention. And that was Drs. Tim Ziegenfuss, Dr. Hector Lopez, Sean Wells. That is not me. What I did is they presented it to us, gosh, maybe like I said, 5 years ago or something, somewhere along those lines. And I just got super intrigued. We partnered up, and it's been a great partnership since then. Pico 2 has been, a partnership with. Hopefully he's cool with I say his name. He usually wants to stay behind the.
You don't have to do it, because I know there's a lot of people. I've been trying to pull Dr. Lopez out from behind the scenes and everything. There's a lot of brilliant people that our viewers would love to meet and everything. But hey, you gotta understand, not everyone wants to be on YouTube.
Right, exactly. So, but I have no problem. There's no secret. Yeah, we have partners who kind of oftentimes, let's call it, invent the IP, and then are the commercialization partner. Sometimes we'll come up with something that adds to it, so we are kind of, brainstorming ideas with our partners. Absolutely. A couple times we've come up with things ourselves, but I would say up to this point, I think a majority have been, others' ideas who we've been helping commercialize their IP.
Cool.
And one of the things that I found that I really enjoyed about Compound Solutions, through talking to you, Matt, but also watching your LinkedIn, because your LinkedIn is fascinating, is that you guys are very philosophical about what you will accept as part of your company. Like, you guys have a very specific drive on what you want to do with Compound Solutions, what ingredients that you want to carry, and you stick to your guns on that. And we kind of saw that a little bit before about human potential, which is, I think it's not just a profit for you guys, which is very cool.
Oh, no, yeah. If there's no purpose, then I don't want to do it. So our purpose is to really get kids to the next generation to eat vegetables. I know it seems like, how do we go from Dynamine to vegetables? Yeah, I mean, viewers might be thinking like, God, can we get another podcast here, Mike? Like, can we shut this down? Can we edit this? What the hell's going on? But the truth is that, what are you supplementing, right? Are you supplementing tomatoes or French fries? And if we're not part of tomatoes, then, who am I as a mentor to my kids? Who am I as a potential mentor, or someone who your kids could look at? I think part of my responsibility personally is to your children, or your brothers, or your sister's children, or anyone who's viewing this. I believe that it is my personal responsibility to save water, to recycle, to ensure that we don't pollute the air to an excess extent, and to ensure that kids in the next generation are eating vegetables. Those vegetables are leading to short chain fatty acids that are leading to a healthy gut, like not a leaky gut, a healthy one. And to a tie between a healthy gut brain connection and less psychoses in the brain, attention deficits and things of this sort. And so, the bottom, we supply Dynamine and we supply theacrine. One is we absolutely believe in it, and belief is the son of a gun, right? We wouldn't do it if we didn't believe in it. But we're also taking some of the money that we make, and we're spending $50,000 a year and making gardens, for kids at schools, nearby. We're developing a curriculum, for all these kids from kindergarten to high school. We're hiring a horticulturalist so that person can manage all the gardens and teach these kids, going forward. So, man, our purpose cannot be to make money, or I will lose my own personal drive. My drive is to change human nutrition. And the way we do this is through Dynamine, theacrine, Pico-2, BHB. Yeah.
Definitely. Does it sound like you might have a vegetable-based ingredient coming or anything? Because I know there's a lot of greens blends out there, but one thing you start seeing, like I'm into glucose disposal agents, for instance. Someone on our last Instagram Live asked, is there like a standard trusted berberine, for instance? Like, and I start seeing places where like, man, it'd be nice if Compound Solutions was involved in this, because you know that they do a lot of testing. You know that they have a standardization, and you're going to get the same whatever greens powder, you're going to get the same every single time. You can't always guarantee that with a lot of different supplements where they say, yeah, this has alfalfa powder. Well, you know, from one batch it might be different than the next batch, and your results may be different. So that's like one of the things as a consumer I see a lot of benefit in a company like Compound Solutions. So back to the original question, are you working on anything like in the vegetable realm like that?
Of course, man. We're not sitting around. Like, what do you think I'm doing, Mike? You know, sitting around drinking beer with our feet up? No way. No way. No, of course. Yeah, we always have, you know, cool stuff in the pipeline, and Ben actually has Inside Track and another one we're looking at, you know, as we speak. So yeah, of course, yeah, we always have a robust pipeline, and you know, I remember thinking to myself, God, it was like a year and a half ago. I don't know. I saw we did something or someone else did something. I can't even remember, but I just thought, oh my gosh, this is the epitome. Like, we're done. Like, there's no more innovation. Just mic drop. And then right after that, someone else did something. And I'm like, man, this is never going to end, Mike. We are going to continually innovate because of just a human's remarkable ability to adapt. We are just remarkable beings. It's like, you could drop us in, you know, anywhere. You know, like, hey, look, you're going to live for the next 10 years in Namibia. You could rock that. Like, we can adapt. It's really, really remarkable. And so I really feel like our ingenuity, just from a human standpoint, is going to keep us with a robust pipeline, gosh, forever. It's going to be a cool next 20 years, you know?
Excellent.
One of the funny things, too, is like Matt and I were laughing. We were listening. I'm not going to give anything away, but we had this really funny moment. We were listening to this guy talking about an ingredient that he was brought out. He was giving these numbers, these statistics that he had found, and these scientists are giving statistics on like the strength benefits or like the endurance benefits. These scientists have no idea how insane these numbers are for like athletes to be, because there's these scientists that are just in a lab, and Matt and I are sitting here like laughing, like they don't realize how much this could like break the industry. Like, we can adapt, we can create these crazy ingredients that are going to do such incredible things for humans, and these scientists are like, yeah, it's just another day in the lab.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's just an endless supply of cool, you know, in the world, and we hope to be a part of it, you know, for the next 20 years.
Cool. Well, so getting back to Dynamine, let's say I am a supplement formulator and I'm looking at creating the next generation pre-workout supplement. It's obviously very exciting that Dynamine is GRAS status now. So I'm assuming, and no one quote me on this, but I'm assuming that means like it's going to be able to be sold at bodybuilding.com and possibly some other places. Again, don't quote me on that, but let's just say that's the case. So everyone's excited. I ask your sales team to come on in and let's talk about putting together a supplement. I want Dynamine in it, or I want something from Compound Solutions in it. Like, how does the conversation go? What is your current, like, I guess I'm asking, what is your personal kind of like stack on how you would do caffeine, Dynamine, theacrine? Like, what kind of doses are you a fan of?
Yeah, so if I had mine, and keep in mind, man, I'm old, man. I'm at like test booster stage. Yeah, I'm not even gonna lie. You know what I mean? To quote Don Grace, I'm like a cool grandpa status now. You know, I'm kind of like Yoda apparently. I'm aging. So the answer is, I mean, for me personally, I like 150 milligrams of caffeine, 100 of Dynamine, 50 of theacrine.
Interesting. Okay.
That combo is electric. It's amazing. Now, because people want something more robust and cool, and you're rocking a pre-workout, well, that's when you can add like a Pico-2, a betaine, an EAA, do something like that if you want to add like a little endurance, side of that. You could rock some, polyphenolic, vasodilation. I think that's kind of underrepresented. We've had like 8 grams of citrulline, 6 grams of citrulline, 4 grams of citrulline.
It's everywhere. it's absolutely everywhere.
Did I say citrulline? I don't know if I said that on this podcast. But I mean, you could work with other polyphenols, and you could even throw in some other alkaloids in there. Something like theobromine and some of the lesser concentrated synephrines. People get focused on the one thing, like, oh well, one of the primary benefits of an apple is this one constituent. So I'm just going to put that one constituent in a pill and give it to you, as if the whole rest of the apple doesn't work, right? So you oftentimes want to create that symphony. And theacrine, dynamine, caffeine can be a symphony in and of itself, like mood, motivation, focus, energy. It's really, really cool. But if you want to funk it up even beyond that, that's when you start getting those other alkaloids and like the theobromines and synephrines and stuff like that have other constituents in there that aren't always 100% defined, that sing well together.
Gotcha. And can you explain in your words what the differences are between dynamine and theacrine?
Yeah. So if you're going to take, let's say, theacrine, and you're going to have, let's say, a smooth, smooth up and a smooth down, and it's going to last 6 hours in this sort of a shape. Take dynamine, you take that theacrine curve and you just truncate it. It's like you squeezed it. So instead of going for 6 hours, maybe it's 3 or 4, and then that curve gets a little steeper. So caffeine might be super steep and fast and sharp. Dynamine's a little less sharp, but still pretty sharp, about 3 to 4 hours. And then the theacrine's a little slower than that, a little flatter than that. So it's kind of, let's call it like fast, medium, slow, almost like that. So the spectrum effect, the full spectrum, is a pretty cool feeling if you're able to combine that, and you can put that in and you can afford that in your cost of good. It's a pretty darn cool feeling.
So there's like going to be a sweet spot on like timing this before your workout, like where maybe 30, 45 minutes, you want to be rocking and rolling at that point or something like that.
Yeah, about 30. Yeah, I would say you want to take it probably 30 minutes in, something like that, or 30 minutes prior to your workout. Right. And then, yeah, it starts coming on, at like 30 minutes, 45 minutes in, you start getting like a motivation boost after you've kind of warmed up and everything. You're like 15, 20 plus minutes in your workout. And yeah, man, it's funny. Like you start, like even skinny dudes like me, I mean, I start looking over the dude who's, lifting 3 plates, and I'm like, I got this. And then I realized, I'm not that guy. My bad. Mm-hmm. But, the point is that you have that mental attitude. It's super cool. Now, also, if you're thinking about like gaming, this is a beast, okay? Because no one just games for like 15 minutes, right? So if you're going for hours, if you're talking about like time release caffeine, I said, it's caffeine, man. It's still caffeine. Like, that's not cool. Like, it's just the same darn caffeine. So you're not getting all like the mood, motivation, focus. You're not getting like dopamine and things of that sort that you get with theacrine and dynamine. So if you want to create like a longer duration of action, and with also reaction time and things of that sort, because we do have data on that for both theacrine and dynamine, that I think is honestly a game changer, without the pun being intended there, in gaming. I think it rewrites that whole game, because you've had these gamers on, let's say, Monster for 2 hours, add a little theacrine and dynamine to that as a booster, or add it to the darn energy drink. Either way, man, you're rolling for 6 hours, but you're not cracked out, right? You're not jittery, because you don't want jittery. You want 150 milligrams of caffeine when you're gaming. That's what G Fuel is. G Fuel isn't a 300 milligram bang. Right. So we really feel like that's sort of a little bit, I don't want to say like lower level, because it feels amazing, but let's say lesser intensity, less of a blunt hammer of caffeine dose, This is where combining with Dynamine and theacrine with that kind of low dose of caffeine is incredible. Here's something very important. I know you're probably like, hey man, you got to shut up already, but this is super cool. We just got this data, and it was just presented last week at ISSN. The Dynamine and theacrine, but this was on Dynamine, it did not raise heart rate or blood pressure.
I was going to mention that a while ago. You had kind of hypothesized that a while ago. So is it official?
It's official.
Cool.
And you're like, okay, so the consumer, like, kind of like, who cares? Well, here's why you should care. Everyone, when they're thinking about more energy, think more caffeine, or more focus, whatever it is, more caffeine. Well, at some point, you're kind of done. Like, you got to do something else that doesn't go after the exact same mechanism, and that is theacrine and Dynamine. So as you are formulating, you can take that thing down from 300 milligrams to 150 milligrams of caffeine, add in the 100 of Dynamine, 50 of theacrine, and you feel amazing. But yet your adverse events are at the 150 milligram level, not at your 300 milligram level. Your pressure effect, because let's admit it, not everyone taking an energy drink is perfectly in shape and chiseled, right? You might have some, like, high blood pressure or some heart issues. Mm-hmm. So we're not overtaxing the cardiovascular system. This is crucial. Like, we cannot overstate like how important that is over long-term health when you're taking caffeine, let's say on a daily basis, for example. You need to plug it in.
I think that's huge in the fitness industry right now. Like, heart health is, I'm not going to say it's getting sexy, but it's like people are like supplementing citrus bergamot, and like bodybuilders, for one. I'm not a bodybuilder, but in that industry, people are starting to take care of themselves more often. My family has a history of heart problems, so I think about my blood pressure, I think about my heart rate, and when I'm looking at these pre-workouts, it's like, yeah, this is going to give me an incredible workout, but it's going to have my heart rate at 130. Like, I don't need that to have a good workout personally. So to hear that is awesome.
Yes, exactly. I mean, when you're talking about lifting weights, it's not like everyone's like, oh, wow, I'm lifting weights, but I don't care about anything else. I mean, these people are taking fish oil, they're interested in gut health. They're interested in lots of different things. And you don't need to be sacrificing your heart for a good workout. Like, we should be boosting our heart, not trying to, overtax it with constricted veins from overly caffeinated beverages,
Right. Now, one thing I do got to bring up is the theacrine, the raw theacrine does not taste that great. So you then, I would like you to walk us through. You came out with tasteless theacrine and I believe tasteless Dynamine, which is, I don't know what you did, but are you willing to like kind of talk about that? Because it seems like most people are more interested in using the one that obviously tastes better.
Right, exactly. All right, so the truth is that, yes, theacrine tastes terrible in its pure form. In its 40% form, the coated form, it tastes neutral. So that means you can put it into pre-workouts in powder form, for example. Now, if you're talking Dynamine, same, but it actually tastes much better in pure form, and its 40% form, again, still tasteless. So ideal for a pre-workout, for example, like in powder form. Mm-hmm. Now, let's transition to a ready-to-drink form. That's where Dynamine shines. Theacrine, frankly speaking, you're probably maxing out somewhere in the 25 to 50 milligram range in a 16-ounce beverage. Mm-hmm. But Dynamine, we've had flavor houses flavor 100 milligrams of Dynamine in a 16-ounce beverage. Absolutely amazingly. Nice. Not like it's okay and I have a conflict of interest, so I'm just saying that. I'm talking spot on, perfect at 100 milligrams. And I just had someone a week ago said that they made a shot with 100 milligrams. Ooh. I was like, all right, well, let me taste that. I haven't tasted it yet, so, I'll follow up with you on that. But Dynamine is 100% viable in energy drinks. No problem.
That's exciting. Okay, I think that's why you kind of led with that, because obviously that is a market that has just been blowing up. The sports nutrition world that we're all friends of and fans of and consumers of here has been getting into those fridge shelves, and we're kind of we as in the industry is doing a lot of damage in there, and the big boys have to be a little bit scared. But I'm guessing that you're not afraid to sell Dynamine to even the biggest of the big if they want it, huh?
Of course. I mean, we want to remake the whole industry. We've had we've had caffeine and taurine for no joke 20 years.
Yeah.
So that's been the energy complex. Maybe like gluconolactone is kind of in that space as well. So yeah, we want to rewrite it.
Excellent. Well, cool. We're looking forward to that because we've been watching this and we're ready for the sports nutrition industry to take on those energy drink companies, and we are on a bit more on the cutting edge. We're not super duper cutting edge, but in terms of some stuff that's going on, maybe at like Olympic levels or whatever, but we are very much on the cutting edge compared to what you see at grocery stores a lot. And so it's been fun to watch this whole process because I remember when theacrine was just coming out and there's a lot of questions. And then when Dynamine hit and we took that for the first time, it was like, okay, this is what I think we wanted theacrine really to be eventually. And this is the exciting one. This is the one that I love at the right dose, which for me is 7,500 milligrams. And now that we've seen this progression happen, now that we have safety studies, we are like, we're thrilled. Like, if you can get that in an energy drink, I know you're going to do well. Like, I can just guarantee it because there's a lot of people out there, like you said, the gamers who they've never heard of Dynamine before, and they're like just drinking the same old thing over and over. They try this, and try 100 milligrams of this, and they're going to be cruising. So it's fun to watch this happen. Yeah,
I really feel like we're talking about, now it almost feels like energy is kind of like a baseline formula. So how do we functionalize energy? This is how Dynamine. And so whether it's gaming, energy drinks, pre-workouts, I really feel like this is the next iteration of maximizing that cognitive experience.
Awesome.
I think for most of the applications here, the energy is just getting you to show up. That, like, for gaming, caffeine just keeps you awake. That's really, the performance benefits, there are some, but like as far as like actual attention span and like eye-hand coordination and reaction times, it's really just keeping you awake for longer amounts of time. So I calling it like a baseline or a base where you add other nootropics or other things too, I think is a really good analogy for it.
Right. And that's also a good point is, the whole nootropic space, the cognitive space, my gosh, let's go beyond this, like, caffeine theanine thing. Like, let's, you know what I mean? Like, come on, man, let's innovate,
Right.
So let's, and I think that's, to your point, Mike, this is where sports, I think, earns its stripes. We're always, agitating for something new and cool, and then, the rest of the world kind of catches on. So let's start here and let's make the rest of the world catch on. Biohackers, nootropic fans, all that. Totally.
Absolutely.
Well, it's kind of cool too because when you think of like performance enhancing for sports, it's mostly like throwing an extra amount of muscle on someone. There's never really something that helps like skill-based sports here, right? Like this is like very, very few sports won't be able to benefit from something like this, like shooting basketballs, hitting a baseball. It's truly universal. It's very interesting.
Right. Exactly. Yep.
And one thing I forgot to mention, and probably should have said it right off the bat, we are going to, at the same time, publish a blog post that has as much of the information as Matt and Compound Solutions are willing to share regarding the studies, the safety data, and everything. So on YouTube, check the description, and we will have a link to that, but it will most likely be something like blog.pricelaw.com/Dynamine or similar. So yeah, I should have mentioned that way earlier. Matt, anything else happening from Compound Solutions that we should talk about? Is there anything we missed? I do want to really quickly mention, because I have to, I am a huge fan of Carb 10, and I'm wearing a constant glucose monitor right now, which as a biohacker, there you go. As a biohacker, I totally recommend doing it. You'll learn so much about yourself, but Carb 10 works absolutely as advertised. So anything else that you're really super duper proud of or anything, or you have coming on that you want to talk about? Or save for next episode?
Yeah, I'm gonna punt on that. Yeah, we do, but frankly speaking, our whole focus really is Dynamine. I really think it's going to rewrite this narrative on just what energy is and can be. Mm-hmm. And so that and really, just do our best. We spent a lot of time and a lot, and we're talking years and to make things sort of compliant and an ingredient that everyone can trust and believe in. That going now, I mean, it's no joke. I don't want to hurt any focus from that.
Okay, sounds good. And you were breaking up there, but I think we got the basic gist. Right now, and so I also didn't mention, it's mid-2019, and this is going to be posted when everything is completely official and everything. So mid-2019, you are going all in on Dynamine, and it's going to be big, and you want the whole world to know about it, and we will have as much information as humanly possible about all these safety studies. And anyone who's a formulator can contact their local Compound Solutions representative, or just contact corporate and they'll get you set up with everything you need. But yeah, we're gonna have as much information as we can on the PriceWall blog. We've been following this for a long time and are extremely excited because, like I said, this ingredient does whip, and a lot of people I think are looking for that. And a lot of those people are not in the sports industry, so they're gonna be impressed once this gets into their hands.
Agreed.
Excellent. All right, Matt, congratulations on achieving the GRAS status. This is a really exciting time, and I think it's going to do really well for not only just yourself and the company, but also the industry as well, showing that this is how you do it right. So we are very proud to have you on here. Thanks again. It sounds like there will be more in the future, and we'd love to have you on once again when there's more news updates, or if you just want to quickly drop us any studies to share ever, you know where to hit us up.
Very cool. Will do. Thanks,
right,
fellas.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
All right. Later.
Welcome to Price Plow.